Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Education Affairs Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us tonight. Today's meeting is being held on, my gosh, what is the date? Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. I would like to begin tonight's meeting by introducing our board members. We'll call roll to see who's in attendance this evening. Mrs. Mary Jo Kalkowski-Smith. Here. Thank you. Mrs. Nanette Witzak. Here. Thank you. Mrs. Christine Dolay. Here. Thank you. And Mrs. Michelle Williams. Here. And in the capacity of ex officio, we have Mrs. Rachel Holbert joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started with tonight's meeting, I would like to give Dr. Johnston, our superintendent of schools, the opportunity to address an issue that we ran into when posting tonight's meeting on our website.
Thank you, Dr. Baddock. This morning, unfortunately, it came to our attention that the meeting hadn't been properly noticed, particularly the agenda hadn't been published. So the meeting date itself was noticed, so the public could have come tonight. But we did have the obligation to provide the agenda 24 hours in advance. Should have been posted last night. It's an unfortunate internal error. We understand the root cause of it. We've addressed the root cause of it. I have no concern that this would happen again. But I did immediately contact our legal, especially our attorney, Attorney Berman. And so I asked his advice on whether or not we should go ahead with tonight's meeting. He assured me that we can go ahead with tonight's meeting. That because this is not a committee that typically deliberates or votes, that we can treat tonight like an information session, which is really, we are bringing you information, and the agenda that we have posted immediately as soon as we realized what happened. It did get posted this morning. And as always, the committee members are welcome, as is often been customary for this group, to direct their feedback to the administration directly. So there's nothing really holding the board members back from making sure that we're aware of your opinions, of your advice, of your suggestions, particularly on matters like a calendar. We do want to hear your input. So nothing's holding us back. It's more deliberation between board members, which frankly isn't typically the fashion of this, in how this board typically, or this typically sort of handles its meetings. So we have good assurance through the head of tonight's meeting, and I just wanted to personally deliver that message to you. And to also express my apologies, that I find it highly unfortunate, but also something that we know we can rectify easily and not have this issue again. So we will continue to proceed with tonight's meeting, and we look forward to delving into these important topics with you.
Thank you, Dr. Johnston, Dr. Baddock. I'm sure we're ready to move on. So thank you for your diligence. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we will not vote on the minutes this evening. We will hold that until next month's meeting. We will vote on both October and November 27th. Okay, so thank you all. Thank you for understanding. With that, I'd like to mention that we have two agenda items for this evening. The first of which is an update on the implementation of our new curriculum, which is exciting for the school district. And the second of which is a presentation of the proposed 2026-2027 calendar, and also a preview of the 2027-2028 calendar. And with that, advance our slides. As you can see, I have displayed our mission and vision statement as a committee, which reflects that of the school district. If you want to just take a moment to look that over, you can read it on your own and refer back to it, as these slides are available online, and this meeting will also be recorded. And there's the role of our committee. And then lastly, I would like to just review the meeting protocols very quickly. The first is that this committee, the meetings are conducted by central office staff, our administrators specifically. Board member questions will follow each agenda item. We welcome those questions. And then after the board members have had an opportunity to offer comment, we will then welcome our community members in attendance to offer public comment. We do ask that you state your address and your name for the record. And please know that whenever possible, We, as the administrators, will answer your questions to the best of our ability, and if not, we will make sure that they get to the correct administrator and we can get back to you with a response. So with that, I would love to move on to our first agenda item, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Anthony Gabriel. For those of you who have not yet met him in the public, he is our Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about something I love, which is curriculum and strategy. And also for allowing me to become a part of the Wallingford family. It's been a great first couple months here since August. I've had a really great time getting to know the students, the teachers, faculty, the staff. So it's been an awesome experience so far. I did want to start tonight's curriculum strategy update just with an acknowledgement of our teachers and our building administration, support staff that have been tasked with implementing this new curriculum. In a typical cycle, you do one curriculum over the course of 2 to 3 years is the typical adoption cycle, especially in elementary where they're teaching every subject. We have asked K-2 to implement 2 brand new curriculums in 2 years, and 3 to 5, 3 brand new curriculums in 2 years. So I think just to let you all as the board, as well as the public, know that they are taking on a really big lift, not only from a time perspective, an emotional perspective, but also from a cognitive load standpoint. With that being said, what we've been trying to do from our end to help support teachers, the building administration, jump down to the third bullet here, is when we think strategically, systemically, we've been trying to stick to the ideas that every decision we've made or are continuing to make, and will be making moving forward, is purposeful, authentic, with a long-term plan in mind. And you're going to see some of that in tonight's presentation. We're trying to be responsive to teacher need, not reactive. You'll see some of that in tonight's presentation, as well as providing ongoing differentiated support for our different buildings, our teachers, our levels, grade levels, different areas from general education and special education. You'll see some of that tonight as well. So before I get into the updates, I do want to celebrate 2 little nuggets that we've gotten from the buildings around the implementation of arts and letters specifically, because that is really a huge lift for our teachers. One, we had in one of our buildings, we had a teacher remark that one of our L students, 2 of our L students, came into the classroom really sort of engaged in the lesson and using some of the language of the new lesson. Arts and Letters has what's called a prologue lesson built into it. It's a natural differentiation component to Arts and Letters that's not required to be taught, but it's to help students with limited language capabilities or English capabilities to get to know the vocabulary and some of the content ahead of time. So our Yale teacher started to use that with her students ahead of time. They then came, so almost like pre-teaching, right? Some of the contents of vocab that came in the lesson and were super engaged in the lesson, which is a real positive that we got in helping some more our learners that struggle with language. Second celebration, and you'll see some images up here of our students, our 2nd grade team at NPE. There's also something called the, what's the lesson called? A bookend lesson. And what it allows for is it gives teachers a couple opportunities to begin and or end their modules, which are in essence a unit, a multitude of lessons through a unit. And this team, this is where the art of teaching really comes into play, the creativity behind this team over at NPE. Brought the students in to the cafeteria at NPE and had laid out a bunch of different artifacts and did a big notice and wonder activity with students. So what do you see? What do you notice? What might our next module be about? And really it was a big predictive activity, right? There was music playing. Ryan Baker, one of the teachers, was talking in a very sort of like monotone voice. Imagine being in an open plane. And between him, Alyssa Pine, Giddy Gray, and Donna Clark did a really nice job setting the students up. Really sparked a lot of curiosity and a lot of real excitement around the unit. The module was around the American West, is what they eventually found out. But it was a great way to build excitement and give the students a chance to really think around what they may do. So it was 2 little nuggets that came out of some of the classroom stories. So in terms of updates, we'll start with curriculum. I'm going to give you sort of a big picture view of the strategy, multi-year plans we put in place. Starting with last year, 24-25, and then where we picked up this year, 25-26. And then we'll get into each of the areas specifically on the slide and give you a little bit of a highlight from each slide. I'm not going to read the entire, obviously, chart to you, but want to make sure that you understand from our first year of implementing arts and letters this year to year 2 of 95% group of grades 3 to 5, year 2 of math. And then obviously, I know we've had a lot of conversations in the district for a number of years around science and social studies. You know, in order to not continue the practice of dumping too much on our elementary teachers, we've figured out a way, we believe, in working with our grade level chairs as well as our principals to slowly continue to roll out arts and letters. This year is the learn year, next year will be the deepen, and then the know year is their 3-year phase where we'll provide ongoing support, professional development. 95%, actually this week, we had 95% back out doing classroom walkthroughs, doing some model lessons. We had a chance to meet with different grade level teams and do some debrief. So that will continue. We had a week, we have 5 days, 6 days this fall. We have another 5-6 days in the spring, and then we'll continue into next year, in year 3 of that. Reveal math, we just had a big day of grade levels specificity on November 4th there. And again, we'll continue with that. But the big focus here really is, and no social studies has been a sticking point, our goal this year to not adopt an entirely new curriculum on top of 2 or 3 others already. Arts and letters is a social studies heavy knowledge building curriculum. What we'll work on later this spring into the summer is a crosswalk of the Pennsylvania Academic Standards for Social Studies along with arts and letters and the social study that's already covered in the curriculum. That way teachers will know as they go through arts and letters next year where they can highlight and elevate some of the social studies concepts. At the same time, we do need to start the Steele's conversation. They were adopted in 2022. The state gave us 3 years for full adoption. This is the 3rd year. We're just starting. So we are going to do a K-12 alignment task force this year. So that elementary knows at least what's coming. And as you'll see later on, I'll get into it deeper with secondary, we'll have something, if the plans have something in place for grades 6 to 12 pending funding. But for elementary, we'll get the knowledge put in this year, and then we'll push to some soft launching of a curriculum resource pilot next spring. So in a year and a half. I know it's not ideal with the new PSSA starting this year and the Keystones, but the reality is, do we want to do something quick or do something well? And with everything else we have going on in elementary right now, we felt that if we do a little bit of training early and then give them time to really get to know the other curricula that we just adopted, we'll be much better served in the long term to slow roll this into next spring. So that's sort of the big picture strategy for elementary. I already kind of hit on this a little bit, but I want to highlight one piece here with arts and letters. A lot of our work this year includes both on-site professional learning as well as what's called custom coaching. And the bullets here show how we've been bringing how we've been using both the professional learning days and the custom coaching to be responsive, as I mentioned earlier, as part of our strategy, to teacher need and specific department need. So we've done 2 sessions. Well, we've completed one already with special education specifically. We have another one coming up on Thursday of this week that's specifically geared towards gifted teachers as well as our special education teachers. We did an entire session just for kindergarten and really have pulled them out as a standalone because they're half day. So that's a little bit unique to what most districts are used to. So having the arts and letters trainers work specifically with kindergarten on how to pace out a pretty content-rich curriculum. And then we have a grade level chair session coming up on writing. That seems to be the biggest change for us pedagogically of how writing's taught and embedded in this curriculum compared to how we used to do it. And then we adapted our October in-service, and we'll be doing this again in February to give the grade level some time to revisit the module planning protocol so that they have some time to really work collaboratively across the district, like 3rd grade across all 3 buildings to get some of the planning in place. So as they move forward, they're all on track to maybe get through the entire curriculum. And that's a really important piece to this because this is a spiral curriculum, right? A lot of the curricula today, this isn't 20 years ago where you just got a textbook and we're told to figure it out. These are actually built off a theoretical and pedagogical foundation that builds year to year. So making sure that we're hitting the core learning progressions each year is important, not only within that year for the students, but as they matriculate up. So having that consistency of skill build is spiraled all throughout the K-5 experience. Some of the teacher feedback, again, positive and areas for us to respond to. The first one reads, the curriculum seems very hands-on and engaging, so that was a positive. This came after an early in-service. Teacher said would have loved to see the ways that learning support teachers could use this in their classroom as well, especially with the prologue. So again, we already scheduled one. We have a second session coming up specifically for special education in response to that feedback. I'll jump down to the parent feedback really quickly. This was unsolicited at one of the buildings during an HSA meeting. Parent kind of mentioned that her fifth grader came home and loved the teachers and that Arts and Letters is helping to demonstrate the value of lifelong learning. Another parent mentioned that her third grader came home and took some of the Great Wave, which was one of the stories they read, and actually developed artwork to hang in the students' group and in their living room. So we thought that was cool. And that they know that if they're hearing that it's a big lift and it's pretty overwhelming, but to just let the teachers know that the parents feel that they're doing a great job, or a parent doing a great job with the rollout. So we thought that was a real positive. 95% group is our evidence-based year 2 evidence-based literacy instruction designed to strengthen word recognition. So helping with the structured literacy, science reading work that we've been doing. This year, as I mentioned, it's really 2 weeks of classroom visits, model lessons, and feedback. And we're in the middle of the fall right now with this, and we'll do another round in the spring with the different grade levels. I've had the opportunity to get to one building so far. I've got 2 more coming up this week. Principal, myself, the trainer from 95%, and then we're forming grade level teams together to talk about how it's going with the in terms of support, as well as provide some feedback there. We are in year 2 of Reveal Math as our core tier 1 program. We are piloting Beast Academy this year for our grade 5 enrichment. One of the areas that our teachers felt after being revealed for a year was that we could use maybe a little bit of support in was some more enrichment level mathematics. So we're working with Beast this year. We had a great in-service day, planned by TOSAs, Shelby Blake, Jenny Cottingham, and Chad Mitchell recently, and as well as our grade chair at the middle school, Heather Burns. They really put together a differentiated look at some time with the Reveal trainers, visual assessment platforms, which is sort of phase 2, but then also really celebrating what's working with Reveal and Math this year, and then diving deeper into inquiry-based tests. So we had a really grade level specific. We had model videos of our TOSA's teaching lessons. Teachers could provide feedback and do some reflection. It was a really big hit with our teachers. Math curriculum, again, I'm not going to read this to you, all of it, but it's a lot of positivity in year 2. It's a lot less new, the overwhelming nature of it's gone, and it seems like it's working for some targeted intervention, as well as just year 2 overall going a little bit more smoothly than year 1 did. So again, projecting forward to Arts and Letters next year, we're hoping to get some of that similar feedback in year 2. Mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again briefly. So as I mentioned, in social studies, we do have, we'll do some gap work this year in terms of taking the standards, seeing where they're evident in Arts and Letters, and then where we don't have, specific lessons, we'll work with some existing resources that we have to then build out lessons to start to implement in the fall. We do have right now technologies like Nearpod and Pear Deck. Had a call with Pete and local rep for PBS recently. They have a whole host of free resources out of PBS that's got a lot of really high level social studies content. There's also a lot of what's called open education resources that exist out in the world that are, free, vetted, open online resources around this topic. So that'll be some of the work moving forward to fill the gaps that Arts and Letters can't fill for social studies. And then last, we mentioned science. Again, the 3-year transition window ended this year. We did some work in pockets last year, more so in the secondary, with taking some grade level leaders and grade chairs around, some trainings. But after the feedback from all levels, really hitting a level reset this year was a big ask as we move forward. So again, haven't really touched this with elementary yet. Our plan is to get them to be part of the K-12 task force in December, January. Do little toe dips this year into what the new standards are asking, and then we'll put a bigger effort into this in the spring of next year. Once they get another year of Arts and Letters, and the third year with Reveal Math at 95%, so that the learning will actually stick. So then moving on to secondary, just like for K-5, we're in year 2 of Reveal Math. We are in a pilot currently. The high school was very adamant coming out of last year that they want to pilot CPM math, which I'll get into later. And so we decided to extend that pilot recently. I'll talk about that a little bit. And then obviously with Steels, we're going to do a heavier dose of PE this year. We actually started that on November 4th, which I'll get into in a slide or two, with the hope of implementation in the fall for secondary of some Steels line resources assessments and some updated curriculum, start that process going so that we're hitting the ground running come August and September. That's sort of the big picture, and it'll be a 3-year implementation plan, just like the others, right? We get a year of learning, a year of peaking, and a year of growing and knowing and really getting into it. So for Reveal Math, very similar to the elementary. Reveal is our tier 1 program. We felt like where it was lacking a little bit was the rigor of the conceptual math. So we've been using Desmos alongside of it to help really push our kids to higher level conceptual math thinking. Again, very similar to elementary on this last in-service day, our grade level chairs, as I mentioned earlier, planned out some standards alignment as well as a deeper dive into inquiry-based lessons in Reveal, and had some time to plan out their upcoming units with the new learning. So they were really thankful and excited about that work. And teacher leaders in the middle school are doing a great job with this. Secondary math curriculum. So CPM is technically the title is college preparatory math, although it has nothing to do with our college prep level. Just throw that out there. The 3 foundational tenets of CPM are collaboration, problem solving, and what's called mixed spaced practice. We are starting, well, let me start with the teacher feedback. This was some of the teachers sent me a pretty lengthy email about why we need to move forward with the pilot of CPM when I came here after the work that Mr. Benzing led last year, which was great. They felt like this particular curriculum had strong alignment with the department's philosophy and goals. It's very strong in its investigative and problem-based design, which fosters independence and supports all learners through scaffolding, spiral differentiation, and alignment standards. It has extensive teacher and parent resources and promotion of a collaborative student-centered approach to mathematics. And this is what the department felt was a really good fit with their focus and their work around building thinking advancements for our students. So our work this year is focused on 3-part professional development, which is really the onboarding professional development over January, February, and March. 1 whole day is going to be focused on the collaboration, 1 whole day on problem solving, and 1 whole day on mixed space practice. So that will, again, with the hope of full adoption. Right now, we're piloting with the digital resources only, but obviously a purchase would be required in the fall pending funding to pick up some of the workbooks and some of the hard copy as well. And then the goal going into next year would be to do a recap in August. And then if we were to adopt, we would get a couple more professional learning days and some in-school coaching days from CPM. So the math department is really excited. Lisa Rager's been great in terms of helping to guide the process, getting feedback from the department. And they seem very excited again, getting to know everybody fresh this year, new. I'm really excited about this as a potential moving forward for our students. And this will run algebra, grades 8 to the high school, as well as geometry this year. Moving to hope. And then algebra 2 down the road, it's just with our teachers teaching multiple subjects. Again, 3 brand new content areas at once to get it. So we'll start with having funding, algebra and geometry. And everyone's going to get trained so that if we want to continue to move down that road, we'll have the foundation. And then science. Again, we had a great day on November 4th with Dr. Brett Criswell from Westchester University. He is part of their science department. He has done work across the country in different states as he was a faculty member in different areas on the next generation science standards. And is very dialed in. Has been doing some work at state level with PDP, has a good understanding where we are on skills and shifts that are required in science instruction. It's really about moving from teaching science to teaching students to be scientists, right? It's really the big shift in thinking is helping them to understand the process of science, more so than just learning science as a content. And so we had great feedback from the secondary group. I know Dr. Johnston came by, Dr. Baddock came by for part of it. We had a really nice, both Katie Shepard and Dr. Johnston ran in the morning, some setup work, and then Dr. Crystal came in the afternoon, so we're going to continue to work with him throughout the year as part of the task forces and some future meeting with the hope of, for secondary, implementing new aligned curriculum and maybe some new resources in the fall, having a bit. But again, there's also some OER that exists out there, some open education resources that we can look to leverage in some other areas. So we're excited. Very good vibe coming out of the service time. So moving forward, I think next month I'm coming back to give you all an update on theory of action that we've created around curriculum strategy and the curriculum process, which is, as you're starting to see, a multi-year, multi-level strategy and theory of action that we will look into the next number of years. Part of the ugly work of the job too is starting to inventory what we do we don't have currently. So we'll give you an update on where we are with inventory, current documents, current curriculum, tools, resources, and then the actual 5-stage process, multi-stage process by stage, not going to say year, but by stage over the course of how this will look moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Gabriel. As is our tradition here, what we'd like to do is ask members of the committee first for their questions and their feedback, and then any other board members that have joined us. And after that, then we will ask members of the audience to state their name and their address before they ask questions of the board. At this time, questions will all be directed towards the administrators, and you'll give us some answers that you have, or get back as you need. So, Ms. Witset.
I have a couple questions. In the for the secondary math or high school, you said they're piloting it,
Yes, this year.
and how many classes are in the piloting program?
So it's all of our algebra classes in the high school. We just got the middle school algebra teachers access this month, so they'll start to look at some of the lessons. And then it's our geometry classes. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but they were piloting the algebra and the geometry.
Okay, and so how will we as a board know if this is working, if it's worth the money that we invested in it? Are we gonna have data collected and on a monthly or quarterly basis, you'll update us and allow us to ask questions?
I will work with both grade chairs, both department chairs, to make sure that we're collecting data is on a regular basis, and then we will bring all of that to the board in the spring as we get closer to the ask. So we'll get both qualitative and quantitative data on.
So we'll only get it at the like once a year. It won't be. You don't monitor it like.
We can do it more right. We can do it mid-year, if that works. They had started this year with just a one semester pilot, and then chose to extend it because it was going so well for the year. So I can meet with the group and figure out how that's going to look in terms of the so then we can get back to you.
And with the data collection, I'd like you to differentiate how the Black and brown and special needs students are doing with this new program.
And fine, we very much appreciate that. How much we really want to make sure that we are providing a curriculum that will reach all of our students, particularly our students from the most historically marginalized communities. And I know that this was a multi-year process in getting to this point with this curriculum. And so I think there had been other steps along the way to determine why to narrow just to this curriculum. Other work that had been done under Mr. Benzie's leadership to determine that we were ready just to try this curriculum and have the teachers work with it this year and make that kind of final confirmation. This is, I think, the main takeaway that I just want to share is this has been a multi-year process to get to this point. And so therefore, this is sort of the final step in the process. And not this, unlike arts and letters where that was all done within 1 year, this has been over the course of several years to get to this point. But we can definitely follow up with more data.
We're involved.
So it's been several years. There should be some data on how. Because I had a lot of questions about Reveal and how I felt that it was teaching to the 2 percentile of our school at a higher level. And so the marginal students, I know it says every child will learn, but it just seemed like it was the wet, because Mr. Benzing gave us math questions and I was stuck. I was like, I don't know what. And a couple of us were like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? So I'm like, well, how, someone that has, different, cognitive deficiencies, or, they have an IEP for certain things, and we're tier 1, so a lot of those children are not in a special class, they're in regular classrooms, and they're not being pulled out as often. So with 25 students in a classroom, how can a teacher know if a child is not engaged and has tuned out and is doodling and looking out the window and not processing what's going on? Because I natty for a 4th grade little boy, and they have Reveal. It's the 2nd year that elementary. So he had it in 3rd grade, and they bring a workbook home, and they have pages assigned, but they're never checked. There's nothing that says that a teacher looked at it. Are the kids doing it correctly? And a couple of the problems his father said that it was like geometry, like it was like a higher level. And so he taught him the way that he would learn how to do it. But there's no, I don't know what's the purpose of us buying the workbooks if the teachers aren't going to even check the work and let the parents, at least with that workbook, you got some idea how your child is doing, and questions to send to the teacher if they struggled with it, if they didn't complete it. Is there the teachers follow up with, I noticed that they didn't do it. So anyway,
So I think we can get some feedback on how that's, thank you. Ms. Williams?
Well, I'll tell you, a few things stood out to me that I really liked. I like that you called it the art of teaching at MPE, because there really is a skill to this. I love that we're going for social studies and some science curriculum, because it's not that it hasn't been taught, but it's all been on the backs of the elementary school teachers. So I really appreciate that as well. And I definitely think we're moving in the right direction in terms of curriculum alignment and so forth. I will say it feels a little overwhelming even to me from sitting afar. Like the lift that these teachers are doing is incredible. So a huge shout out to them. I have 2 questions. One, I'll start with mine. You kind of hit on some of it with this pilot, and I was glad to hear you, Dr. Johnson, say that there had been a multi-year. I hate to say this, I wasn't really aware of any of this. So I did have some questions, and you kind of answered some of them, but I do wonder if we're piloting one, like when we piloted reading programs, we piloted 2, and we've had comparisons, and so it feels like we're all in. We've already made the decision almost on this one. That's what it feels like to me. I don't speak for the whole thing. But that does make me pause, like, why?
so then we voted on which one.
Well,
based it on teacher feedback,
Yeah.
and, you know, so that to me
So-
almost feels like we're.
So I wasn't here last
Yeah,
year
yeah.
for the process, obviously, but I do know I've met with Mr. Benzing. I know there have been other programs that were looked at, that were previewed. So there's two ways to work a new curriculum and new system. One is a traditional pilot, where, you know, you take a look at what your non-negotiables are, right? I think the teachers had mentioned, you know, it's got development in the classroom, it's got the student-centered approach. You use that to line the standards, you use that to guide your initial, okay, so there's 10 on the market, you say, okay, well, 4. Then you start to do a comparison. And then in a traditional pilot, you say, okay, we're going to take this program for this first couple of weeks, teach a couple lessons out of this for a unit or two. Now we're going to teach the other unit, we're going to do a clean comparison. What I've also seen happen, and it sounds more like this, and I can confirm this with Mr. Benzing, and we can come back with a more full report, but the idea, you can also look and go through your checklist and go through your needs, take a look at programs, and everyone goes, this one really kind of seems like this is it. It's almost like a soft launch, right? Where you say, you know what, we're gonna, based off our expertise, our kids and our knowledge base, we're gonna put all our chips in on this and give it a shot, right? Where you give it part of a year, and see how it's going, and then make a decision after that. And that's, seems to be more how it's rolled out, but we can get more specifics. For it.
I guess that's what we're finding.
Yeah.
Like the information about the
Yeah.
process of all of it, so.
I'll go back to my notes, reading Mr.
Yeah.
Benzing in the chairs, and
Yeah.
talk through sort of what went down last year, how many different programs they looked at, how many different curriculum they looked at,
Yeah, and why.
what that looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And is the title of this college prep math?
so it's technically CPM. It has nothing to do with our, it's totally separate. It
So
was
this is taught across all levels?
all levels, it's a very high level, very inquiry-based curriculum with differentiation built in. But it's really an it's a problem-solving based approach. Almost a problem-based learning approach, and so that's where we get the collaboration, the problem-solving, and the mixed space practice, because it's a very big shift from how we're used to seeing teaching done, which is typically how you do, you know, I do, we do, I do, you do, excuse me, right, that gradual release model. This really builds structures and frames around the students, being the thinkers and the workers, and allows, it builds a frame for almost like roles, think of a lit circle, but around mathematics, if all the students get jobs, they get an inquiry problem, they get a lot of notice and wondering, and they build the math out of that process rather than build the process the other way around. But it allows for multiple entry points for multiple levels of students.
And then I just had one other.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, I know in the past, there's been some kind of discontent with the teachers that doesn't always make, in terms of like how we're rolling out things with professional development sessions, are they useful or not? So what kind of process are we using? Like, I know that you said the teachers feel like it's going well, but just, and I'm sure they do, but like what kind of process, like, are they filling out feedback, and is it open-ended? Is it anonymous? Is it,
So we have end of session feedback that's partially Likert scale and partially open-ended that we actually just looked at today in the cabinet. And then we make decisions based off of that. I also get around and meet with every grade chair and or department chair. We talk about the upcoming PD, what are your needs? They go to their department, they come back to us, we make a collective decision. So it's really a collaboratively planned session. And I will say for something like Arts and Letters, which is a new curriculum, there's not a whole lot of leeway right now with that, other than us adjusting the pacing of what's coming out. And a good example I'll give you is originally on October 20th, we were supposed to do a session called Teach, and there was 2 parts to it. There was a part 1 and a part 2, but it was all new information. And they were feeling overwhelmed, they wanted to revisit the module planning, so we pushed the part 2 back to January. And then gave them afternoon time to really work by grade level to revisit some of the PD from August. That was around the module lesson setting, it's called, but it was really the big picture planning around the modules and getting this different information. So it was responsive within the bounds of a new curriculum and new content being put in. So we're trying to at least adjust the pacing and the way in which we provide support. The principals have been great. They've manipulated the schedules a bit in the building to give the teachers some collaborative time to get together to do some planning and some assessment, review and things of that nature. So And then we obviously have the TOS to support the buildings as well. We need to develop information. So we're trying to be responsive to that. Some of the cycle back to the question is, they do fill out after each session, feedback form that we look at, and then we do regular meetings.
You still live?
Try.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I mean, I share your sort of reaction to that. I don't remember hearing about it and would like to hear more about, you know, not only the process for selecting this particular one, but what drove the need for this. I see it mentioned here on the slide that, you know, according to their rationale, this was why this was, according to their rationale for the need for it, this was why this was the best choice, but I'm even wanting to go a step before that. What is the rationale? Why are we here? What is the cost, you know, to the district for this pilot? And yeah, just to piggyback on that. And then also, I heard you mention several times throughout the presentation that pending funding. Yeah, most things are pending funding, but I'd be curious just to know a little bit more about, is that sort of like state or federal grant monies, or what kind of funding are we, you know, and I guess, and you don't have to, I mean, this is like a bigger picture question, but in the eventuality that we don't get funding, you know, for me, the elephant in the room is what does all this look like without the funding?
If I could,
Yeah.
just start on that bit, this is definitely part of a larger conversation about our budget for next year. I know that we'll start to talk more about it, facilities, finance next week, part of the facilities and finance, do a meeting, and also in our full board meeting next week. And, you know, really, it's a matter of what do we need to shift within our funding to make room for this? How much can we shift to make room for it? So this is within our existing revenue sources, to use what is currently available within the curriculum budget, but then to work elsewhere to say, if we really need this, then we need to sort of reallocate spending in order to have these investments.
Yeah, and along with that, I wonder about the ongoing role of the TOSAs and what that will look like. But again, that's sort of a bigger picture.
Sure.
It's just something I think of when I see this presentation. And then just lastly, I also wanted to, I did hear you say that in response to teacher feedback, you added a special ed PD training.
Yes.
And I appreciated hearing that, you know, again, just to piggyback, like the responsiveness to teachers and their
Sure.
needs and their impressions of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
As you had mentioned, it's a huge lift and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so the more we can try to continue to do kindergarten what they need, which is a unique situation with special ed, we've been working with our teacher leaders, most of their grade level chairs. There's going to be a whole half-day session in February for around addressing individual supervisions of differentiation. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Right, and I'm going to say yes. Thank you, first of all, Dr. Gabriel, because I know you, Mr. Gabriel. Okay. I wrote.
My wife would have words.
I know. I went.
She's the doctor.
I'll get it right. And I know you've said several times what a heavy lift this is for our teachers, and I know that we understand that. But it's also been a heavy lift for you. And I know that you have come in the middle of all of this, and you're like, oh yeah, CPM. Oh, you know, you're right. I'm in the middle of it. I didn't know about the process before me. We are running full speed ahead with new curricula. And I just want to thank you for like walking into all of this and making yourself part of what we do. And, you know, holding the standards and looking at this, I really appreciate your coming into Wallingford-Swarthmore and being part of this. So first of all, I want to thank you for all of that. I did have a couple of questions, and I know I have anxiety about social studies and science, especially with the new steel skaters. And I know that for teachers who are already at the highest level of learning new things for their craft, and I appreciate that very much. How does it look right now? Like minutes in a day teaching social studies? Where do we reach those standards for now? I know we aren't rolling out the new yet. And where do we at least, because I know fifth grade is taking that, this will be this year?
They're
They're taking
taking the new BSSA. So
Yes.
we'll have a real baseline
Okay, we'll have a real baseline.
for that
How,
biology this spring.
how is this fitting into the schedule right now for teachers that's manageable?
So they have, learning the elementary schedule when they got here, the buildings have roughly 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, for either science or social studies. My understanding is how it runs a little bit differently in each building, but teachers might do science for a week and then stop science and do social studies for a week or two, and then come back. So it's sort of, and that's not atypical. In other elementary schools, I've been in this 24th district for 27 years. The science and social studies question is always a challenge in those places. I will say, I think we have talked about, Dr. Diamond and I talked about looking collectively at the elementary schedules over the next couple of years to see, how that time looks. We still don't know the full demand of the skills standard yet, and what that's looking like in terms of time. Our teachers are using some NGSS and next generation science scans online resources already, so that's been happening. I think somebody mentioned, like, they're doing a great job of teaching, but it's not systemic yet, right? There's the consistency, the sort of the K-12 or the K-5 articulation is not all in yet, which is what we're working on. The hope of having some of the social studies covered through arts and letters could then free up some of that half-hour time. So let's just say if we're running 50% of the weeks for science and 50% are social studies, we'll have to see how much is in arts and letters. Maybe it becomes 60-40 science, right? To see if we can, right, because we're folding some of the social studies expectations into that literacy block, in English class, English language arts class, and that might free up some more time. We just won't know until we get that. That would be the hope of how we then, but the time is in the schedule currently. It's about a half hour worth of time.
All right.
So
they get.
Yeah.
The other piece, and I know that we've had lots of questions about evaluation.
Yes.
Evaluation, looking at teachers, is the PD, going well? How do we know? And then I think, how are the kids doing? And I know that we've asked for how are the kids doing, but is there a specific way you can tell us? Can you share some of the methods you're using for assessment? And can we see some of that? I know we do map testing, and is there a way to share, like, as we're going along with the map testing, can we see the progress kids are making?
So the answer is yes, just not right now.
Okay.
Right. So, well,
Right.
not we could, but let me put it in a larger context for a minute. So obviously, new curriculum takes about 3 years to fully implement and roll out. Our hope would be to see the state level data, just to say the key study data there. Towards that third year, see that achievement really go up and see the impact of the curriculum in that second or third year. Prior to that point, we do have curriculum basis in third parts of the curriculum. So after you're done, there's a series of assessments throughout each module in arts and letters. Reveal has a series of assessments throughout each unit, and then there's an end of module or an end of unit test. So those will give us a very direct, in the moment, here's how our students are doing today in October of 2025.
Okay.
In the middle of those two assessments are third-party local assessments like that. All three of these, the curriculum, the map, the PSC, they're all aligned in WSSD standards. So we're assessing the same skills, just at different levels and in different ways. So obviously, there's ongoing assessment collection, and we're wrapping up. I'll give our letters an example. We're wrapping up module 1 this week and next week. So we have a data dashboard at the back end that we're starting to see how the students are doing at the end of mod 1. Again, it's called an end of module task. And so we're going to start meeting with the principals and then the grade levels over the next month, sort of go through the assessment results to say, how are the kids doing? And then we can certainly start to report out on that on a semi-regular basis to see how it's going. And then I talked to Dr. Brown earlier about, maybe in the fall, which does her PSSA presentation, we do fold in some of the year-long, right, to talk about, hey, so we started here, beginning of the year with arts and letters, and by June, our students got to here. So what we're looking for right now is not necessarily achievement, it's about growth. Growth leads to achievement. Right, and so the one thing I will say about arts and letters, the one big shift, and we're going to get the messaging out to parents about this, is really about it's starting the students and independently assessing the impact rate from day one. So making that shift to how's our child doing in September and October at a 4th grade standard and being 4th grade independently. So it's that growth mindset shift to say this is about scaffolding, it's independence. Where are you now? Because the goal is by the end of fourth grade, they're doing it independently. But it's that process of getting, there's that growth focus this year that's going to be really
And-
important. So we can,
I appreciate growth focus. I'm all about that. And I just want to make sure that we're disaggregating for our underserved kids. I'm gonna say, we'll all keep saying that.
Yep.
And that, as we see those growth numbers, we want to make sure every kid's growing. Thank you.
If I could just add one really quick comment. In December, here at the Ed Affairs Committee meeting, which is December 9th, Dr. Pratt is already scheduled to come in and present that student data that you're asking for, and specifically map it into that.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I got it. That's great. Thank you so much.
Our year-long plan has been, that we did the PSSA data previously, and then, next week, we'll actually have a presentation to the full board on PSSA and PBOS that is disaggregated as well. And then we come to, so this is all part of the plan, actually. We
Great.
laid out for this year. To make the data.
Great. You're great. Thank you. And then, I'm gonna check in with Ms. Holberg here and see if she.
Thanks. So I really think it's wonderful that you're doing this, putting everything together, the inventory. I can't wait to hear about that, and just, like keeping an eye on the various forms of alignment. Just thank you. And let's see, I just have a bunch of notes. First of all, with Arts and Letters, the company, it provides some sort of support to teachers, doesn't it? If I remember correctly, there was something about that. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right or wrong. I thought,
We've had great minds for,
they've been coming in since, did you start in June?
May.
May, you started PD in May, right?
No,
yeah,
June.
sorry,
The
June,
first
yeah,
meeting
June,
was
yeah.
The first full PD was in June.
that's, okay.
Yeah, we've been meeting with the principals prior to that. We do monthly check-ins with the three principals, as well as us and their company. Then obviously we have about, I think there's about three and a half PD days this year. And then we have the custom coaching session, which I mentioned. We have an Arts and Letters Great Minds trainer come into the buildings and work in small groups, by team, high level, very one-on-one. We park it in a little conference room, and teachers come down and ask questions, and get some small groups.
That's great, because so I'm the only person who came back and got reelected and all that stuff. So I was out talking to constituents, and one of them is an elementary teacher here in the district, and we talked for like 30 or 40 minutes. She pulled me into the house. She and her husband knows all about Arts and Letters. You can imagine how this works. She was just like, we are overwhelmed. It's a lot. It's been a lot, with Reveal and all that. And I was aware. Thank God I come to these meetings. So she was just saying she did, and you mentioned the principals carving out time for collaboration. She specifically mentioned that.
Good.
And she didn't know if that was like district-wide or just her principal, but she really did appreciate that, I will say. That was why I was asking if I thought the company said that Great Minds said that they were going to provide some support, and I was like, I hope that is happening. So just checking in. So with skipping out to Reveal Math in the middle school, they're finding that they need a little bit more for enrichment. Is that right, with Desmos?
That's
Like it's-
the
like
conceptual,
Reveal itself
the conceptual mathematics, they felt wasn't as strong.
Okay.
In Reveal, and Desmos is built for high level concept. When you think about mathematics in terms of the conceptual and procedural, they needed Desmos to kind of pick up some of the conceptual. Now, Reveal does have an inquiry based approach track in it, which helps to build some of that. But it's not every lesson is inquiry.
It's just, I wish we could get away from piecing things together, but sometimes.
just jumping in on that very quickly, I think that we would, at the same time, we don't want to piece things together. It's sort of the extent to which we piece things together. There's no one curriculum that's going to satisfy all of our needs.
Gotcha.
In all my years in public education, I've never seen one resource, and I sometimes worry that we're calling, actually, understandably in the classrooms, the teachers are saying, now let's do Arts and Letters.
And I think over time, I think we'd all like to shift to work to say, we're doing English language arts, right? And we own it. We own the curriculum, we own the standards. This resource is a way that avenue in, and sometimes you need more than one resource to find that avenue in. So I would be more concerned if there were 6 or 7 things that we were piecing together.
Okay,
Really, when we say, here's the main one, and it needs some augmentation, that is well within sort of what is acceptable.
okay, that's good to know. I appreciate that perspective because I don't have that, so thank you. And then skipping to the CPM math. I personally, in terms of getting feedback from, about it, my concern is not that we're not having 2 different curricula to, check out, but more that we don't have any control classrooms. Like this really isn't a pilot, it's just a soft launch. Unless the teachers are totally willing to say, you know what, this really didn't work out. And my concern with that is that the teachers have sort of talked to themselves into it. Or, I mean, I get it, that it might be exactly what we need. And like you said, we didn't realize that there had been such preparation for this. So, but we really, like in terms of judging against what the baseline is, what we had before, we don't have that because we could go back to last year's test scores or whatever, but those are last year's kids. It's not quite the same. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of wish that we'd known a little bit more. I think we've been super focused on elementary curricula. So it would have been nice, but at the same time, there's probably a rationale that we're just not familiar with yet about why they just jumped all in on this. And maybe, they felt like it was so much better that they didn't want to leave some classrooms behind. And, that may be fair. So I would just love to hear not only like, oh, the teachers love it because they're already primed to love it, but, and not only like the kids also are doing great, but like what are some of the challenges that they found and how are they going to work with them, what they've got to do. That's it. Thanks. Questions?
I have a bunch actually.
Okay, because we are being recorded, will you please give your name and the street you live on?
Sure, I'm Marlene Livingstone. I live at 116 Turner Road in Wallingford. I'm trying to start with the first things I wrote down. So one of your slides talked about math 8 through 12 collaboration. Do those teachers actually from 8 through 12 get together and collaborate and talk about the pull through of the math curriculum from 8 through 12 so that they can actually work together? Does that happen?
That will start in January.
Okay. Thank you. So you said that by the 2nd or 3rd year, you expect achievement to go up. What happens if it doesn't?
So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be checking along the way as well, right? So each year we'll look at growth, we'll look at year-to-year achievement. So if the needle is not moving, there's really 3 things we look at. 7th, we look at, we provided enough support at the district level to make the successful professional development line curriculum. Are we getting the buildings, the leadership, the building level on board, helping with in-class implementation, support, the guidance, and then what are we doing in the classroom? We're providing enough professional development. So we'll be looking into that, at those 3 levels along the way. And then if the needle is not moving or if it's dropping, obviously we'll have gone through a multi-year process of diagnosing every single component that could be leading to that, and then we'll have to adjust course.
Okay. And I guess my secondary question to that is achievement. What does that mean? Is that something that the curriculum developers say this is what right looks like in your achievement process? Is it something that the district says this is what we'd like to see in achievement? Is it the teacher perspective? Like, how do you determine what positive achievement looks like? Especially if you're not comparing apples to apples from the previous curriculum.
I can start. There's multiple sources, multiple data points.
Sure.
When we measure achievement. So it could be curriculum-based, which would come out of the program and the texts and the teachers. Because there's some subjectivity to some of the review. It depends what content area you're looking at. But then we also have, as Mr. Gabriel stated, the third-party assessments. And then we have end-of-unit assessments, which are also tied back to the curriculum. So there are many different things that we look at to determine the achievement. And then all of that comes together to tell us if the student is progressing in a way that, you know, demonstrates mastery of the standards, because it all ties back to the standards.
Sure, okay,
And I think of it sort of PSSAs and keystones as well, right? So we're getting that score on a third party cold assessment of like, are they administering standards at with the state teams at or above state expectation? So as Dr. Mack says, a bunch of different levels of measuring the achievement of the dip in time, if this is where the student is at this time.
And just add really quickly on that, we did this in real time last month when we had this meeting. We looked at the data from the statewide assessment from last year, and we saw that the math achievement actually went up, which was great news. And we're not going to call victory, but you know, it was first year of implementation of Reveal, and it was an early indication, right, of moving in the right direction. And what I said, you know, out loud publicly during that meeting was, you know, I'm pleased to see it moving in the right direction, and I'm particularly pleased to see us not regressing.
Sure.
The curriculum as well. So I think really to the point that my colleagues have made, it's an ongoing process. It's something that I think as we continue to look at data in these meetings, and we have a whole plan for how we will do that throughout this year, including next week, we always want to be asking ourselves that question about what's that relationship between the new curriculum we're putting in place and the outcomes we're seeing for our students.
okay, thank you. One of the things that I know from knowing teachers in the district is that there's been a switch, especially in math curriculum, multiple times over the last 20 years, because I've been in this district for a long time. What's the commitment to this new one being implemented for a period of time that the teachers can really, you know, sink their teeth into it, take hold of it, feel ownership over it, feel mastery over it, so that they don't feel like in another 3 years, here's another new curriculum? Not to say that there shouldn't be one, because maybe there should be in 3 years,
Sure.
but is there some kind of proactive commitment to saying like, we want to implement this and really give it a good, solid X amount of time to make sure that our teachers are fully aware of like what they need to be doing at all times and feel like they really have a hold on what they're doing?
If I could, I just, because this lovely team is not here when that,
Sure, yeah, of course.
our elementary went through a very rigorous pilot program for both math for arts and letters for 95 group, for Reveal Math. Very rigorous pilot program, very rigorous, comparing these to other. It was a year-long process. And it was the teachers who made the decision. This was all teacher led and teacher voice at that time. They felt they needed to move in another direction. So the investment from our teachers was huge. They folded that into their curriculum, the new curriculum into what they were already doing to try certain units. They did a fabulous job. And it was their decision. So much of this happened right in the classroom. And that decision was made with those teachers to move in this direction.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's super helpful. And I think the only other question I have is, you were talking about being able to assess student growth with, I don't remember which one of the curriculums. Is there ever any benchmarking done against other districts or nationally to see like, here's where we stand doing this curriculum versus here's where, I don't know, somewhere in Iowa that's doing the same curriculum with the same, you know, grade level of students, what that benchmarking looks like? Do we look at that? Is that something that we assess and just say, okay, we think we're doing well, but you know, what does that look like as we benchmark that against other districts across the country? They might be using the same exact thing.
So in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, the state doesn't produce a resource that helps us see which other communities in the state are using the same curriculum materials. And so
we don't readily have that information, but map data actually is based on cohorts of students norm referenced across the nation.
Okay.
Kind of see how are our students doing, not if they're using marks and letters or not, but how are they doing relative to other students across the nation who are also assessed using the map standards, the map assessment. And so that's really one of the key ways. And I think what's actually really exciting is we just developed the ability to share those map results with our families. So our families can have that information that I think is so important for a parent to know.
Yeah.
About how is my child doing compared to a child in Iowa, that
Sure.
child in Alaska. So I think that is a new development this year that I think should really help our families see their children in a larger context all throughout the year, not just when they get the PSSA results. So.
Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Melissa Crawford, 557 Juniata, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, joining the board. Thanks. I'll try not to take too much of your time. First of all, I wanted to comment on the new science curriculum. I'm very happy to see that, and I'm very excited to hear that you're training scientists to think about science and are curious and to be asking the right questions. So I think that's really what we need to be sending out into the world, people that are curious and ask the right questions about just learning data. And then I just had a couple of questions about the CPM curriculum, and I'll try not to be repetitive. It was a lot, and I also want to comment again about what a heavy lift this must be for the teachers, because I'm personally overwhelmed by all the data here. I thought I heard you say the CPM curriculum was in the high school now, and then you're onboarding the middle school teachers. Is that right?
So we are so we are just the 8th grade algebra.
That was my question.
Right, it's
So the
right
8th grade
now,
algebra is doing the same thing as the high school algebra.
and that's always been the case.
Right.
Right, so algebra is algebra.
Got
Whether it's our advanced algebra at the middle school or 9th grade, it's the same. So while they didn't get a chance early in the middle school for whatever, if they were onboarding reveal,
Right.
we now got the 2 algebra teachers in 8th grade are gonna be part of the training in the spring, have access now to the resources. They'll start to be able to work with some of the lessons and sort of the frameworks in the spring with their students.
Okay.
So we'll get some feedback from those teachers as well.
Okay. And I apologize if this was already said, but when you're looking at the growth again, you're looking at Keystone exams, I'm assuming, right? Like, and is that compared at that student's improvement over time, the cohort's improvement over time, how the school performs as compared to the state? Like, how are we?
It's all the above.
Okay, great.
Yeah, there's multiple ways we can look at individual students, cohorts, students, schools.
Okay.
A lot of different metrics, all grade levels.
Well, is it our new way of approaching education in the district is it's student centered? So all the math, science, language arts, they're all based on the individual student and how they achieve. Are they proficient under? You only get like 3 blocks, like low level, proficient, and mastery. So that's the differentiating part of the lessons that help an individual student that might be struggling. So then they get like the TOEFL or pulled out in groups or whatever. So
I could add to that really quickly. The specialists, we have our specialists and our interventionists, students who communicate really proud. But we are our board meeting, which is Thursday, November 20th, which I'm sure you know. You're counting on the days till December. And congratulations. Dr. Pratt will be presenting on achievement and growth in the school district. So that might be a good thing to tune into in order to better understand growth, specifically through the lens of the state standardized assessment information.
All right. If we have no more questions, thank you. Thank you so much. We can move on to the next. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, so tonight's presentation on the calendar is going to focus primarily on the 2026-2027 calendar. It should be noted that this calendar reflects the same religious and federal holidays, holiday observances that we are currently observing through the 25-26 calendar. The holiday observances will be recognized through various strategies that promote cultural awareness and strengthen the cultural proficiency of the school district and the school community. This work will be completed by our building CPEDAL teams. Right now, the CPEDAL teams are currently in the middle of completing gap analysis to determine where instructional activities either need to be revised or developed to support the work of the teams in ensuring that there's both vertical and horizontal alignment in how we are teaching kids about all the different religious holidays and all the observances reflected in the calendar. In addition to looking at the calendar that's being proposed for 26-27, we will also take a preliminary look at the working draft of the 27-28 calendar. So with that, I know this is small, however, it is available online and you can load it up on your computers at home. I'm gonna switch away from this for a minute, but then I'm gonna come right back to it so that you can have a point of reference to me. Can we go up just the left side maybe? I don't know if we can do that. If you can't, that's okay. Because I'm gonna go through it piece by piece. So if you're, oh, yeah, the plus sign.
Yeah, but it's only,
Okay, it's okay.
Oh, I can see this, I'm sure.
So if you look at the blue bar where the month is, you'll see a T and an S. Those, the numbers there, you probably can't see the T and an S because they might be cut off on the way this is, but you can see the numbers to the left and the right of the month. Those reflect teacher and staff days. And that's how we keep track of how many instructional days the students are attending and how many days the teachers are working. All of the professional staff, not just the teachers, but anybody that's part of our professional staff unit. The professional staff are required to work 192 days a year, and the students need to be in school 180 days a year, or 900 hours, instructional hours for elementary and 190 for secondary education. So if you were to count up all those numbers, you would see that, thank you, you would see that for both the 26 and 27 and the 27-28 calendars, we have 192 staff days, which is what we need to have in order to meet what's stipulated through the collective bargaining agreement. And both calendars have 181 days, which allowed for one built-in day should we have to close school for inclement weather. Any days beyond that, one built-in day would more than likely be tied on to the end in June, or if preferred by the board, we could always bring it to the board, open the calendar and make an adjustment to a holiday that's been earmarked. But that would be at the discretion of the board. So with that, I'm going to just show you really quickly. I'm going to go through the calendar. I'm going to share with you the highlights and then where the students are off and professional development days. And then lastly, all the holiday observances. And I can either keep it here or show you the lists. Do you guys have a preference? The lists or keep it here? Lists? Oh, yay. Okay. Okay. So let's start with our highlights. So the first day of school for 26-27 will be August 31st. Kindergarten conferences, which is a regular school day, the conferences are held during the day, will be the 19th and 20th of November. Parent conferences are going to be held on November 23rd and 24th for grades K to 8. As you'll see in a future slide, elementary students are off those days, middle school students are released early, and the high school students are in school those days. And I will mention that because of these conferences, and there's 2 sets of conferences built in the calendar, the elementary students don't hit that 180 mark. However, they have a surplus of instructional hours. So we're fine with the state. The state allows us to do either. The next you'll see is kindergarten conferences come back around in March on the 16th and 17th. They're set up the same way. And then again, we hold parent conferences in March on the 18th and 19th. The only difference there is that middle school is not, they don't participate in conferences in March. They only do the fall conferences. The last day of school for students is earmarked as June 11th. And there again, I mentioned those makeup days. Right now they're earmarked, and I have in smaller font, second and third, because the first one is built in, but they would be June 14th and 15th. In terms of no school for students, I don't know, I guess I'll run through them. September 7th is Labor Day, so students are out. September 21st is Yom Kippur. November 3rd is a professional development day. November 25th, 26th, and 27th are Thanksgiving dates. Then we have our winter break from December 24th through January 1st. January 15th is another professional development day. January 18th is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s the holiday. February 15th is President's Day. March 10th is another professional development day. March 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th is spring break. And then there's going to be a change on this calendar that I have to mention. That date of May 18th is going to shift to the 17th because one of our community members reached out to us after this was circulated and let us know that we had a couple of the Islamic holidays incorrect. It's a little more challenging to figure out the Islamic holidays, and we do rely on her heavily, and we appreciate, she knows who I'm talking about, and I've already emailed her. We appreciate the input, so we'll make those adjustments. So that 18 will change to the 17th. And then Memorial Day will be May 31st. There are additional professional development days that I'm going to get to in a minute. These are the ones that are listed there, are just the ones where the students happen to be off this route. In terms of the additional professional development days, I'm not going to go through all of these again, but I will mention that on August 19th and 20th, that's our new professional staff induction, which is an exciting time here in the district when we welcome in all the new staff members. And then August 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, they are professional development days. That is a shift. We used to have 4 days at the front of the year, then we went to 3, and by popular demand by the teachers, we're going back to 4 days. They felt that it was really important to have those 4 days at the front end of the year. So we're happy to do that for them, and we think it'll benefit the district. And then at the end, you can see we have 3 days built in at the end of the year, which again is going to be new for the district, and it's going to give us an opportunity to work on a lot of the things that had typically been postponed and pushed into summer work. We want to be able to really build that out and start to work on some curriculum initiatives and get them done before we return back in August of that. Okay, so the holiday observances, there are a couple of things. Again, those Islamic holidays, I'll mention them because they're incorrect on here. So July 4th is the 4th of July. September 7th is Labor Day. September 11th through the 13th is Rosh Hashanah. September 17th is Constitution Day. Yom Kippur, it's listed on there the 20th and the 21st. It's the 21st. Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day is October 12th. Election Day is November 3rd. Diwali is November 8th. Veterans Day is November 11th. Thanksgiving, November 26th, Thanksgiving Day itself. Hanukkah will be December 5th through the 12th. Christmas is December 25th. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January 1st. New Year's Day is January 1st. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January 18th. Lunar New Year is February 6th. Ramadan is February 9th through March 9th, so that's going to be changed. President's Day is February 15th. Eid al-Fitr is March 10th. We had it indicated on there 9th and 10th because we were unsure, so we know that it was the 10th based on our very reliable source. Good Friday is March 26th. Easter is March 28th. Passover is April 21st through the 29th. Again, we have Eid al-Adha. We again weren't sure. We had May 16th, 17th. It is in fact the 17th, so that will be adjusted before this moves to the board. Then we have Memorial Day on May 31st and Juneteenth on June the 19th. I do want to point out that these holiday observances, although we try to build in a day off as often as we could, but again, there are some constraints because of the number of days that we have to be in school. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning to the public that if a family celebrates a holiday on which the students are in school, scheduled to be in school, that is an excused absence. both by policy and code. The parents are just asked to write a note and they can keep their kids home and celebrate the way that they get to celebrate as a family. Okay, so that was the 26-27 calendar. And this calendar is set up the same way. And again, this calendar, we are not recommending that this particular calendar advance to the board for consideration at this point. This will just give us a starting point for next year. So again, I'll just restate that there are 181 student days, except for the elementary kiddos because of conferences, and there are 192 teacher days, professional staff employee days, staff and teacher days. The highlights for this calendar are as follows. First day of school will be August 30th. Kindergarten conferences again in November 18th and 19th, set up the same way. Parent conferences also set up the same way, November 22nd, 23rd. Kindergarten conferences come back around April 4th and 5th. Parent conferences in the spring are April 6th and 7th. That's grades K to 5. And the last day for students will be June 9th. And again, we have that one built-in makeup day. So any other days off would result in us having to come back that next week into June 12th and 13th. No school for students. At this point in time, I don't believe there are any changes to this, this particular slide. So you can see there, I'll give you guys a minute to look. Do you want me to read them or do you want me to read them? I'm getting the same right now. Go ahead and take notes. And again, this is posted online, so I'm gonna keep going. The professional development days are listed there. Again, we start in August with the new professional staff induction, and then again, we're preserving those 4 days at the front end. The only real difference is at the end in June, we only have 2 days designated, and it's just the way the holidays fall. So we're going to get, hopefully we get really great at the PD in June, and we'll maximize those 2 days in June. As far as the holiday observances, I just want to mention that we know that if you just glance down at January, what says January 27th through the 25th, it should be January 28th through February 26th for Ramadan. Eid al-Fitr is February 27th, and Eid al-Adha is May 6th. So again, I'll make those adjustments. But that is it for the calendars, and I'm happy to entertain any questions if you might have.
Ms. Winter?
No, we did a lot of work on these and it reflects, because we worked with that one community member and she gave us the go ahead that we finally got it right. And, I like the fact that some of the holiday observances, although the kids don't have off, some teachers decide to do, incorporated in their lesson. And even the nutritional group will do like certain foods and things that they have, and it's posted on the boards throughout the schools so that kids know. And I like that you mentioned too that if it is a religious holiday, that the parents can keep their child home as a excused absence. But I'm wondering if, like, say, Ramadan, which is fasting, like they're fasting all day. So will there be accommodations for testing? Like if a test is scheduled during that time, will they be able to do a makeup test? Because it's kind of hard to concentrate when you don't have food in your.
Yeah, I remember that you posed that question last year, and I think it's a great question. And if I recall correctly, the response was, we are going to be educating all of the students and the teachers through, like you mentioned, through various avenues. And yes, if students are in need of an accommodation, we'll certainly do everything we can do to make that happen for them. We'll be aware of the fasting and the toll it may take on student populations. I think it would come down to the student's family, and the teacher, with the support of the administration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
one comment, I doubt there's much we can do about it. I just know during the parent conferences, the elementary kids are out, the middle schoolers have half day, the high schoolers have a full day. It's, I mean, speaking for someone that has had 3 kids in 3 different levels of buildings, is there a reason that the high schoolers can't get out a half day? Like, so to make it even, just like middle and high school, half day, and elementary school is out, like, is there a reason for that?
It comes down to instructional hours. Even though we're hitting the 180 mark, some of our students in the high school, specifically our seniors, are not, because they finish up earlier. So we're getting in as many instructional hours as we can.
So that,
But we also get fined, right, if we don't keep the instructional hours.
so we would not keep the instructional hours if we
We-
actually do that.
yes.
Okay. And then I did have a couple questions. So the calendar for this upcoming year, it looks like the Jewish holidays, the 2 Eids and the Lunar New Year fall on weekends, which were days that we had off in this current calendar. But I did notice in the 27 calendar, and this could be my eyes just being crossed as well, it looks like Diwali and Lunar New Year both fall during the week, but we don't have them off. And so I thought we kind of decided as a board that those were holidays, and I don't know if I speak for everyone, but those were holidays that we kind of wanted to honor with days off. I know we had Diwali off this year, we also had Lunar New Year, so I'm just wondering like what the thought was, or if that's like an error, or we can talk about it, or.
We can certainly talk about it. I just can't pull that up.
We did have Lunar New Year off.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and then, I mean, those were the holidays, we talked about Eid and, you know, Diwali and Lunar New Year, like those were. I thought we actually made a list of the holidays that we
We
wanted.
did, and we couldn't get them all off, which is why we had them as observances and not necessarily instructional days off. When we worked really, we included as many as we could, but we couldn't get them all in. There aren't enough days in the school year to get them all in. So, but let me just really.
Okay, I think that's something we could look at for the 27-28 school year and just kind of weigh our options, just because I feel like
Absolutely.
precedent.
Well, didn't we do it for this?
We did it for this year, yeah,
2024, 25,
25, 26.
25, 26.
And then 26, 27, I mean, we still have plenty of time, because next year,
Yeah.
they all fall on the weekend, so this is not pressing,
Right.
but it is something I think we should discuss perhaps.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm happy to discuss it. It's definitely a working copy, and we got them right now as many as we could, but if we can juggle some things around, some PD days. we can do that.
I think that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue for me, because I wanted to sort of put a pin in, so we've had a lot of discussion about the calendar, and it's been a lot of hard work, and it's appreciated. Especially when I hear that we're continuing to get that community voice, you know, involve that community voice, because we talked about how are we gonna continue this ongoing conversation, get diverse, you know, to acknowledge diverse holidays and make sure those diverse voices are heard, so we're doing that, so that's really great to hear. But we talked also about maybe sort of codifying some of this in policy, such that we would sort of say these are the holidays that we're going to be, you know, recognizing and having off. And then with that, we talked about, you know, how will it be determined whether the holiday is off versus listed, you know, just as an ongoing sort of conversation. So just to kind of put a pin in that, and I don't know how this will dovetail with policy, but that was part of our conversation. Because I agree, I also thought that we talked about Diwali as being a day off. And then, yeah, I guess I also wonder, two other questions. So do we still have a calendar committee that meets, and are we getting teacher feedback on this sort of new calendar format and how it's going, and what their sort of thoughts are in terms of developing a calendar? Like, how does that work?
So we have had conversations with teacher, Dr. Johnson and I had conversations with their new leaders. And they were in support of the calendar, the 26, 27 in particular.
Okay.
27, 28 really hasn't been shared at all. And I'm looking at drawing Michelle, Mrs. Williams, which other one did you mention?
Lunar New Year.
So that we don't necessarily.
We haven't met as a committee
Okay.
because of all of the work that went into last year, all came
Sure.
into focus. And we didn't change any of the
Sure.
observances.
Okay.
The only thing will be is determining how we can work in the way that the holidays, the breaks, the longer breaks fall really impacts where we can fit in
Sure.
all of the holidays.
Sure.
Which is really why we made the distinction on the last page of the, where we have the instructional calendar and then the holidays observed. And I have to go back and look at the instructional calendar. And again, part of it is because it happened the following weekends. And again, some of this happened the following weekends. And so we just have to shift things around. So we'll continue to look at it. And if we run into a situation where we have to pick, I think that might be an indication we bring some folks together as a committee and to discuss it. If something has to give somewhere, maybe we bring the community and different members, different stakeholders together to make those decisions.
Thank you.
Okay, and then just one more question. And it's sort of, so now I can kind of see that more thought needs to be put into the 27, 28. So now I'll talk out of the other side of my mouth and say that we have heard from community members that want to know, want to have an approved calendar for 27, 28. So, which I also understand. So sort of what is the timeline for the approval of that second calendar? Like, what are we thinking that will look like? Like when can we expect to have that approved?
So unless we make any changes, our plan has always been to approve next year's calendar in November. So that's why we're bringing it here now, working out the kind of fine tuning and bringing it before the board, the board meeting, next week. And then it would just be an annual occurrence in the fall for the next school year. And I honestly think that with everything going on and changes that might come with mandates or just, how we think about the calendar, how we think about the professional development, I really wouldn't want to do it more than the fall for the next school year.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it out there, I think it's sort of been floated that we were at some point at least going to try to do 2 years worth of time.
Okay.
So not to say that we should do that, but just that that that's sort of what we were kind of working towards.
Okay.
So I can see the reasons why we wouldn't, but that might be a seven with no advance.
One of the main questions that I heard about next year, right, when school started this year, we almost immediately began to get questions about the calendar
Yes.
for next year.
Yes.
And a lot of it that I heard was the start, what would be the first day,
Yes.
right? Not so much when will the holidays occur during the year. And maybe we could do more to, put a notice up with the calendar to say, right now, the proposed start date for the next school year is, as Dr. Bannock said, August 30th, 2026. Would be the start of the 26-27 school year. But that alone, I think it helped.
Yeah, I do think that would be helpful.
I think we could do that for sure.
And then they can plan their
So that's-
close and
Sure.
or.
It's understandable. Yeah.
And
That
that's
was
it
the
for
main
me.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have another question. I think for the calendar, I think we covered it very well. Thank you. Calendar is never easy. I know it's one of those things where people will say, what calendar? Why is that hard? But it is. I know that calendar is very challenging, and thank you for all of your revisions. Every one of us brings something through. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
I'll just say, piggybacking on what you said, Dr. Johnston, another constituent, as I was walking around canvassing, really vented about the start date being before Labor Day. And, I moved here from Ohio where they start, I don't know, sometime in July, it feels like, it's just ridiculous like how early they start in the Midwest and the South, which makes no sense. But one thing that they did that our Purdue school district did was they started on a Wednesday. They started the Wednesday. Anyway, it was like a soft launch. It was like they'd have started on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then so it was like a 4-day type situation. So it took a little while, and it gave the parents, so like if they took a long weekend, to kind of get back. But anyway, I honestly don't have a horse in this race. The only thing would be nice to have all of these lists. I would love to see what's the list of the holidays that school is closed. You know, just so I have that in my head, like, we were kind of like messing with that, and like, is this? If we had that list, it would at least make it clear, I think, or did I miss that? It's that one, so it's,
Yeah.
that it's,
That's when the students are, because there are PD days on here where teachers are here,
right,
professional staff are here, but this is the list
so
where
it, okay,
schools are closed in terms of instruction.
I'm sorry, yeah, so it really is of all of them, it's only Yom Kippur.
If I could just, if I could just add one thing with reference to the Labor Day, to the mention of why do we go back when we do.
Yeah.
Wallingford-Swarthmore really prioritizes professional development. So we have on any given year, a minimum of 10 and up to 12 professional development days. Building those into a calendar without sacrificing part of the day to a half-day student, half-day PD, which is what many districts do. I pulled calendars from all over the area. And for those of us, especially who work in education, we know when you have a half-day student and a half-day PD, neither one of them is of great quality.
Right.
So we have stayed really committed to developing our professionals. And so that is one of the reasons why there's very little wiggle room in this calendar. Like just thinking about what Mrs. Williams said, and I'm looking already to where can I make a change? And in January 26th is Lunar New Year for 2028. Well, in January of that year, we have a PD on the 14th. The reason that it's on the 14th is because that allowed us to have a long holiday weekend for Dr. Martin Luther King holiday. So we can change that, but then families don't get the 4 days. They get the 3-day holiday weekend and then they get the PD at the end. So there are little things we can do, but for every single move we make, something else has to change because there's zero wiggle room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so with that, I would just like to share, I always forget it's my turn again. The next committee meeting is December 9th, 6 o'clock, same location. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn our committee meeting?
So